Hello, my name is Rashmi Biradar and this video is about Class 6th Social Science History first chapter, that is what, where, how and when. First, I will explain the chapter through reading the lines. Afterwards, we will solve the given question and answers. What is history? Think, what is history? History is the story of man's past. It deals with events that have already occurred. It deals with facts of our society, economy and culture. It is based on historical sources which are seen, observed and analyzed by the historians. History can also be defined as the record of past events. What is history? Question is, what is history? History is the study of man's past. So what is history? History is the story of man's past, or it is the study of man's past. So it is the first definition. We can also say that history is also, it is the record of past events. So what is history? History is the story of man's past, or we can say history as the record of past events. Why do we study history? So then why do we study history? It is important to learn history because it helps us understand our present. To understand the world around us, we have to know about our past. In order to tackle the present, it is important to have a good understanding of the past, as history is a continuous story of events in the past leading to the present situation. It has been said, he who knows the past controls the future. Why do we study history? So question is, why do we study history? Answer is, the study of the past is important to understand the present. So why do we study history? Because the study of the past is important to understand the present. It is said that he who knows the past control the future. That is, he who knows the past controls the future. Time frame in history. Historians divide history into three time periods: prehistory, proto-history and history. So historians divide history into three time periods. First one is prehistory. It is the time when writing had not been invented and there are no written records of this period, our knowledge of this period is totally dependent on the findings of archaeologists. They dug deep into the earth and discovered physical remains like pots and pans, jewelry, tools, bones, coins, etc. With the help of these, they learnt about the past. Second one is Proto-History. In the Proto-History period, this period is the period between prehistory and history, for which we have a few written records. Our knowledge of this period is based on archaeological findings. An example of this period is the Indus Valley civilization. Indus Valley civilization. Third one is history. This refers to the time period after writing was invented. We can trace the history of any event from the written records. Early writings were on stones, rock pillars, bark of birch trees, and clay tablets. Many of them have been destroyed, yet we have enough records to write the history. Next concept is dates in history. Dates in history. Dates in history are explained by two terms, BC and AD. The years are generally counted from the date given to the birth of Christ, the founder of Christianity. The years before the birth of Christ are known as BC. All dates are counted backward in BC. Nowadays, BCE means before Common Era is also used in place of BC. AD means Anno Domini. It is in the year of the Lord. The years after the birth of Christ. First, we will see that think and answer questions. Think and answer. How to find out time from the time period? First one is, how many years are between 400 BC and 200 BC? 400 minus 200 is 200 years. Second one, how many years are between AD 200 and AD 400? 400 minus 200, that is 200 years. How many years are there between 400 BC and AD 200? Here we have to calculate. You will have to add the two dates, that is 400 BC plus 200 AD, which is equal to 600 years. The years after the birth of Christ are counted as AD. These years go forward. For example, AD 99 was followed by AD 100. Nowadays, CE is also used instead of AD. CE stands for Common Era. BCE also used instead of BC. BCE stands for Before Common Era. In India, we have been using BC and AD for the last 200 years. So here timeline is given. It is a 0 from the right side, means 0 to right side, it is counted as AD. That is after the birth of Christ is known as AD, and before 0 it is BC. That is before the birth of Christ. What are three periods in history? What are three periods in history? Or what are time frames in history? What are time frames in history? So for both, history is divided into three time frames, that is prehistory, proto-history and history. So history consists of three time frames or three periods, that is prehistory, proto-history and history. First we will see about the prehistory. Here people did not know how to read or write. So in the prehistory period, people did not know how to read or write. Therefore, no records were found. Second one is proto-history. Here we are having few written records. In the proto-history period, we found few written records, and in the prehistory, we do not find any records. Third one is history. Here we find events of written records. So during the history, we found many events of written records. How dates in history are expressed? Question is, how dates in history are expressed? Dates in history are expressed as BC and AD. Dates in history expressed as BC and AD. So I will draw a timeline here. 0. This is the timeline. At the left side we find BC and to the right side it is AD, means after birth of Christ. BC means before birth of Christ. In the timeline we find 1000, 2000, 3000 like these years to the left as well as to the right. The dates in a history are expressed as BC and AD. Here BC is before Christ, or we can say before birth of Christ. BC stands for before birth of Christ and AD stands for Anno Domini. AD can also be written as CE, and this BC can also be written as BCE. CE means Common Era, whereas BCE means before Common Era. Common Era or before Common Era. So these are the terms used instead of AD and BC. The importance of geography in history. The physical features of a country have always affected its history. India is a vast country with different geographical features which have affected the way people lived in the past. To understand the geographical divisions of India, we need to classify them into the following regions, that is the Great Himalayas, the Gangetic Plains, the Vindhyas of Central India and the Deccan. First we will see the Great Himalayas. The Great Himalayas in the north and northeast provide a barrier to the harsh climates and invasions. It has mountain passes through which men have traveled. The Indus Valley. It was here that the great Harappan civilization flourished along the river Sindhu or Indus. Sindhu is the Sanskrit word for the river Indus. The cities were built of bricks and stone. The wells, water storage system, and the drainage system were one of the most well planned in the ancient world. The people of the Indus Valley made jewelry and toys for their children. They also developed a system of weights and measures. The Greater Himalaya has mountain passes through which men have traveled in search of livelihood or to escape natural disasters. The Garo, Khasi, and Jaintia hills of Meghalaya are an extension of the Himalayan range. Next is the Gangtik Plains. It is one of the most fertile areas supporting a large population of India. The Ganga, Yamuna, and their tributaries provide water for irrigation for the vast plains. Next, the Vindhyas of central India. The Vindhya range divides the subcontinent into northern India and southern India. While the northern slope is drained by the tributaries of the Ganga, the southern slope is drained by the Narmada river. Next, the Deccan. Here, agriculture was the first developed in the Deccan. Deccan is known for its unique culture and tradition known as the Dravidian culture. It is also known for megaliths, magnificent temples, and Sangam literature. People lived near the bank of the rivers because of availability of water and fertile soil. Rivers provided water for irrigation, drinking, washing, fishing, and navigation by boats. An example is the Narmada Valley of Madhya Pradesh. The first people to grow crops like wheat and barley were people of Suleiman and Kirtar hills in the northwest. Question is, what are the geographical divisions of India? What are the geographical divisions of India? Answer is, the geographical divisions of India are, there are four geographical divisions of India. They are the Great Himalayas, Gangtik Plains, Vindhyas of central India, and the Deccan. So these are the four geographical divisions of India. First one is The Great Himalayas. Himalayas act as barrier between India and Central India. So the Great Himalayas acts as barrier between India and Central Asia. Second one is Gangetic Plains. So these are the fertile regions where the rivers Ganga and Yamuna flow. So Gangetic Plains are the fertile plains. Ganga, Yamuna and its tributaries flow in Gangetic Plains. Third one is Vindhyas of Central India. In the north side, Ganga river flows and south side, Narmada river flows. Fourth is the Deccan. In the Deccan region, first agriculture was developed. Development of agriculture started in the Deccan region, and also Dravidian culture has been flourished in the Deccan region. So this is about the geographical divisions of India. Next concept we will see sources of history. How do we find out about the past? Historians have found out many ways to support what they write about the past. What are these sources, evidences, or materials? They are archaeological sources and literary sources. What is archaeology? It is the study of the past of the ancient people through the things left behind by them. The excavation can be planned on a mound, or sometimes mounds are found by accident. Did you know in this the early man lived in the Narmada Valley? So in the map of India, here is the Narmada Valley of Madhya Pradesh. For several thousand years, they were skilled food gatherers and hunters. The people in the Suleiman and Kirtar hills. So see the figure of Suleiman and Kirtar hills of northwest region, now in Pakistan, first began to grow crops like wheat and barley about 8,000 years ago. They also reared animals like sheep, goat, cattle in their villages. So here is the Suleiman and Kirtar hills which were present in the Pakistan now. Earliest agricultural practices in India began around the Garo hills in the northeast. So here is the Garo hills in the map of India. Rice was first grown in the north of Vindhyas. The second step is collecting the objects by removing the mud from them and then carefully labeling them. Each object is photographed and labeled according to the layer in which it was found. Then the archaeologists date the object discovered. For this, different scientific techniques are used. The most popular method is called radiocarbon dating or carbon 14 dating. For example, dating of bone is done by this method. The last and final step is to interpret or try to find out what that object tells us. The history of the evidence we have collected, the objects found in Mohenjo-daro, Indus Valley civilization, tell us the kind of jewelry people wore, their houses, customs, toys, pottery, etc. First type of sources in history is archaeological sources. Archaeology is the study of the past of the people who lived long ago through the things they left behind. What are those things? Those are pottery, tools, buildings, paintings, bones, coins, etc. All these things lie buried in the ground. They remain buried in the ground for thousands of years, and a mound of rubbish soil builds up over them. The archaeologists dig these mounds and find things buried under them. The objects that lie deeper are the oldest evidences or sources of history. So, the first step is digging or excavation. These excavations can be either vertical or horizontal. There are four kinds of archaeological sources. They are sites, monuments, coins, and inscriptions. Sites. Sites are places where material remains of the past are found. Buried towns, cities, skeletal remains, toys are found by careful excavation by archaeologists, geologists, and historians. Next is monuments. Any building of historical importance is called a monument. Temples, tombs, caves, forts are important examples. Coins. The study of coins is called numismatics. The study of coins is called numismatics. Coins were made of copper, bronze, silver, and gold. Inscriptions. Epigraphy is the study of inscriptions. Inscriptions are written on hard surfaces like copper plates, rocks, and stone pillars. Inscriptions also contain scripts and languages of old times. They can be understood by modern people only by decipherment. The Harappan scripts are undeciphered till now. Literary sources. One way of finding out about the past is to search for books or what was written years ago. These are in the form of manuscripts or handwritten texts. Manu is a Latin word meaning hand. The manuscripts were written on a palm leaf, a specially prepared bark of a tree called as birch, or parchments. Many manuscripts have been destroyed, but those that have survived were generally preserved in temples and monasteries. These manuscripts fall under two categories. Those are religious and secular. The religious manuscripts describe religious beliefs and rituals. Example, the Vedas, the epics. The manuscripts were written in different languages: Sanskrit, Prakrit, Tamil, etc. Many plays, poems, and epics were also written. Example, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. The secular books deal with the kings, their administration, and society. Stories of the rule of kings are found in Megasthenes Indica and Arthashastra of Kautilya. Did you know the study of writing on hard surfaces like stone or metal is called epigraphy? The most famous examples of these are edicts of Ashoka, Law Code of Hammurabi of Mesopotamia, tablets of Minoan and Mycenaean civilization. Historians depend on which reliable sources? Historians depend on which reliable sources? Answer: sources are of two kinds. Sources are of two kinds, or we can say it as a sources of history are archaeological sources and literary sources. Archaeological sources and literary sources. These are two sources of history. In the archaeological sources, there are four types: sites, monuments, coins, and inscriptions. First, we will see about the sites. Sites are the material remains of past. Sites are material remains of past. Second one is monument. Monument is nothing but a building of historical importance. So what is monument? Monument is a building of historical importance. Third one is coins. Coins are made up of copper, bronze, silver, and gold. How coins are made? Coins are made up of copper, bronze, or silver, or gold. Fourth one is inscriptions. What are inscriptions? Inscriptions are written records. So these are written records which are engraved on rocks or caves, or which are engraved on pillars or temple or palaces. So these are the four kinds of archaeological sources: sites, monuments, coins, and inscriptions. Next we will see literary sources. So there are two types of literary sources. Those are religious manuscripts and secular manuscripts. So literary sources are nothing but manuscripts or handwritten text, in which first one is religious manuscripts. The religious manuscripts describe religious beliefs and rituals. Examples of religious manuscripts are the Vedas, the Ramayana, and the Mahabharata. Second type of literary sources are secular literature. In the secular literature, it deals with kings, their administration, and society. So secular literature contains stories, poems, plays, biographies like Arthashastra. So this Arthashastra was written by Kautilya. And second is Indica. It was written by Megasthenes. One of the interesting case study we will see here. The case study is about the story of Rosetta Stone. Rosetta is a small harbor on the Mediterranean coast of Egypt. A French officer of Napoleon's army found this stone near the city of Rashid in 1799. The Rosetta Stone is a black basalt stone 110 cm into 70 cm with two languages written on it, Egyptian and Greek, and three scripts: hieroglyphic, Demotic, and Greek. The Rosetta Stone is written in three scripts because when it was written, three scripts were being used in Egypt. The first was hieroglyphic script used for religious documents. The second was Demotic, which was the common script of Egypt. The third was Greek, which was the language of the rulers of Egypt at that time. The Rosetta Stone was written in all three scripts so that priests, government officials, and rulers of Egypt could read what it said. The Rosetta Stone, inscribed in 196 BC, contains a decree praising the Egyptian king Ptolemy V. No one could read hieroglyphics at the time of discovery of the Rosetta Stone. Many epigraphists tried to decipher it but were unsuccessful. The structure of the script was very difficult to work out. After studying the Rosetta Stone for many years, Jean Francisco Champolin deciphered it in 1822. Second case study is about the Indus Script. So we can observe the Indus Script discovered near the northern gate of Dholvira 5000 years ago. So observe these figures. These are the Indus Script. Here the term Indus Script, Harappa script refers to short strings of symbols associated with the Harappan civilization. In spite of many attempts, it is still undeciphered. The script is written from right to left. Since the number of principal signs is about 400 to 600, many scholars accept the script to be logosyllabic. What are the points to remember in this chapter? That is, points to remember. First is, history is the study of man's past. It is based on historical sources which are seen, observed, and analyzed by the historians. Second point is, study of history can be divided into prehistory, proto-history, and history. Third, historians depend on reliable sources. Sources are of two kinds: literary sources and archaeological sources. Next point is, history is the key through which we can uncode the mysteries of the past. Glossary. In that, first one is decipherment. Decipherment means to find and work out the meaning of a piece of writing. Epigraphy. Epigraphy means study of edicts and inscriptions. Historical sources. Historical sources are the evidence or materials which are helpful in studying about the past. Next is history. What is history? It is the study of the past with the help of written materials or objects found from excavated sites. Manuscripts, these are handwritten texts. Numismatics, it is the study of coins as well as of the writing and symbols inscribed on coins. What is prehistory? It is the period of study when there were no written records but sources are provided by the fossils and buried materials. Question and answers of the chapter what, where, how, and when. First, multiple choice questions. First question, Deccan region is well known for. Deccan region is well known for what? Is it megaliths, temples, or Sangam literature? Answer is Deccan region is well known for all of these. That is megaliths, temples, and the Sangam literature. Second question. The most popular method of dating used by archaeologists is it carbon 14 dating or carbon 18 dating, carbon 33 dating, or none of these? Answer is it's a option A, that is carbon 14 dating. So it is the popular method of dating used by the archaeologists. Third question. The study of coins is called. The study of coins is called numismatics. So answer is option B, that is numismatics. Fourth question. Epigraphy is the study of. Epigraphy is the study of inscriptions, not coins. So epigraphy is the study of inscriptions. Answer is option B, inscriptions. Fifth question. Which of the following is an example of secular literature? Vedas, the epics, Indica, none of these. Answer is Indica. Indica is the example of a secular literature. So it must be Indika, Indica. Match the following. Here the words are given as chronology, prehistory, Deccan, epigraphy, and Indica. You have to match with the section B. So chronology is nothing but a record of events. Answer is record of events. 2. Prehistory. Prehistory is nothing but a when writing had not been invented. Deccan. Deccan is nothing but it followed a Dravidian culture. Deccan followed a Dravidian culture. Epigraphy. Epigraphy is the study of inscriptions. Study of inscriptions. Indica. Indica was written by Megasthenes. So it is about the Megasthenes. Very short answer type questions. First question. What does BC stands for? So BC stands for the years before the birth of Christ. So BC stands for the years before the birth of Christ. Second question. What does AD stands for? AD stands for Anno Domini, meaning in the year of the Lord. AD means Anno Domini. Name the two sources of history. The two sources of history are archaeological sources and literary sources. So sources of history are archaeological sources and literary sources. Fourth question. What is archaeology? Archaeology is the study of the past through the things left behind by them. It is the study of past through the things left behind by them. Now, short answer type questions. First question, mention the 4 geographical divisions of India. The 4 geographical divisions of India are the Great Himalayas, the Gangetic Plains, the Vindhyas of Central India, and the Deccan Plateaus. So these are the 4 geographical divisions of India. Second question, what are the various kinds of archaeological sources? What are the various kinds of archaeological sources? There are 4 kinds of archaeological sources. They are excavation sites, monuments, coins, and inscriptions. So these are the 4 kinds of archaeological sources. Third question, differentiate between numismatics and epigraphy. The study of coins is called numismatics, whereas epigraphy is the study of inscriptions. Fourth question, mention 2 literary sources of history. Write the names of the authors. Answer, 2 literary sources of history are Indica and Arthashastra. So literary sources are Indica and Arthashastra. Indica was written by Megasthenes, whereas Arthashastra was written by Kautilya. Fifth question, the earliest manuscripts were written on which material? Answer, the earliest manuscripts were written on a palm leaf. So, manuscripts were written on a palm leaf, bark of a tree, and parchments. So, manuscripts were written on palm leaf, bark of a tree, and parchments. Now, section E, long answer type questions. First question, how does an archaeologist reconstruct history? Once again, I will read. How does an archaeologist reconstruct history? Answer, archaeologists reconstruct history in the following ways. First is, they take up excavation of sites. Second, they collect the objects by removing the mud from them and then carefully labeling them. Each object is photographed and labeled according to the layer in which it was found. Third one, then they date the object discovered. For this, different scientific techniques are used. The most popular method is called radiocarbon dating or carbon 14 dating. Fourth, the final step is to interpret what the objects tell. Archaeologists have written the entire history of Harappan civilization with the help of evidences such as kind of jewelry, houses, toys, pottery, etc. So these are the ways in which archaeologists reconstruct the history. First, they take up the excavation sites and they remove mud from them, photograph it. Afterwards, they will use a technique called as carbon 14 dating, and at last, with the help of jewelry and other things, they will interpret the object. Second question, how are literary sources helpful in studying history? Answer, with the help of literary sources, we can know about our past. For example, with the help of Vedas, we can know about the religious practices of Vedic people. Similarly, with the help of Megasthenes Indica and Arthashastra of Kautilya, we can know about the kings, administration, economy, society, etc. of the Mauryan Empire. Third question, India's geographical features have had a profound effect on its history. Comment. Answer, the geographical features of a country have always affected its history. India is a vast country with different geographical features which have affected the way people lived in the past. For example, the Himalayas checked foreign invasion from the northeastern side. The Vedic and the Indus Valley civilizations flourished in the northwest India. The Deccan has had a unique culture different from northern India. Thank you for watching the video. Please like the video and subscribe my channel.